We are live. Howdy, everybody. Dangerous Freedom here. My brother Detroit prepping. My sister, Detroit, Detroit. my my
The
sister
Detroit Cat
and my
won.
and my brother Patriot down below.
How is everybody out there in the chat? I can never read the chat, but hello.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's like no one there. It's just like we're gonna have to just wait a little bit where people are like,
yeah, no doubt.
want to come and
They'll start coming. What do they
yeah,
say? If you start it, then they will
send
come.
out the
Although I
send
have,
out the invitation and they will come.
I
What
mean,
were you gonna say,
sometimes.
Cheshire?
Oh,
What were you gonna say, Cheshire, before we went live? You were getting ready to tell us something.
I don't even remember. Oh, it was it was something about
howdy, 12B.
back in the day when I was, working in the OR. I used to scrub
Howdy, Miss Mary.
basically implants, like tooth implants.
Okay.
So it was kind of crazy the way they do it. But
Well,
I'm pretty sure it's changed a lot since.
I was gonna say it's probably come a long way.
Yeah.
Just when I was having a consultation, they were telling me that there's 3 different kinds of implants you can get. As to
Mhm.
10 years ago, there was one.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I think as long as you've got enough bone and stuff in your jaw to screw the implant into, you're fine.
well, they said I had plenty of bone material. I mean, I had every tooth in my mouth still, so nothing had
Yeah.
deteriorated or anything. But
Right.
what they also did is they grafted some type of bone on top of that, some type
Okay.
of bone or whatnot. And they said half the implant would be in that, the other half would be actually in my jawbone, and that would be like a buffer, I guess,
Right.
against the implant being just anchored right into the jawbone. They didn't have to drill so much into it because I guess they said the less they have to drill into it, the better.
Mhm.
You leave more of the actual bone there.
Mhm.
But I'm feeling confident.
Yeah.
I'm all in now. So.
Yeah. You'll have a nice looking set of teeth before you know
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was so
okay,
funny.
all right. But here's my question, Roger. If say some of us do have bad teeth, which would you recommend getting them all ripped out, or would you just say just get the ones that are bad yanked?
Well, I mean, you're talking to a man that didn't have one single cavity, but I knew the potential of it. You know what I mean? And who wants to be stuck
Hey, Eric.
in Mad Max worrying about your tooth when it's more than possible for you to get it done now? I mean, to me, it just seemed
well,
like
and
a no brainer. If you can afford it, get them all done. If you can only afford to get some of them done, then look into like partials or something like that. But
I don't
if you're halfway there already, man, why do you want to deal with it? Like I said
know
during Mad Max, coming to
because
Roger Dental.
I get where you're going with this, but I believe that I have teeth that will outlive me.
Oh, I mean, my teeth would have possibly outlived. I mean, my teeth would have outlived me, at least most of them. But what about the 3 that go septic and your
Mhm.
jaw swell up this big and you're trying to get your
well, I mean
buddy
that
to tie a string on it? And
that
Shoot it
depends on
out.
the person, though. I mean, some people are more prone to periodontal disease and tooth decay than others because different people have different tooth enamel. So it's kind of like, some people are prone to having crooked teeth and others have straight teeth. But, it just depends on the person. And I mean, I personally would never pull all my teeth or do anything like that unless I had to. But, for me, I'm going to preserve all of my teeth like.
I think to each his own. I
Yeah.
sleep well at night knowing that I'll never wake up with a toothache.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
um,
Yeah.
it's a person. I mean, it's just my plan. That was the plan I had to get myself prepared for anything. Lights out, hospitals closed, dentists closed, everybody's closed. I mean,
Right.
Could I have lived without it? I'm 100% sure I could have. I mean, I
Right.
could have probably went another 10 years without even my first cavity, but it was just one of those risk reward things for me. And
Mhm.
I guess I realized the rewards of having your original teeth. There's nothing like them, but
Well, I mean, even if you
I'm
have
not
implants, though, you're not gonna. It's
killing
not going
animals
to.
with my teeth and chasing deer down and biting their throats out. So I'm not worried
I
about
want you. I
breaking them
want
or
you to
anything.
bear in mind, though, that it's even if you have implants, it's not going to lessen your likelihood of getting periodontal disease, and so you could end up getting gum infections that could destroy your bone down the line. So you wouldn't have, I guess, painful teeth, but you could definitely still have gum issues and bone issues.
Absolutely.
That's how.
Absolutely.
That's how
There's
we.
no perfect solution. Yeah, I mean, there's no perfect solution in all of it,
And
but
and that's the thing about preparing is none of us have the perfect solution. Hey, hey, Eric, downtown, Sean Sean Prepper. Wouldn't you like to be a prepper too? Good to see you, brother. Anyways, yeah. So, it's like none of us got this all figured out. I mean, you went with like long term, like holy crap, that the grade goes down and you don't have power tools. I mean, me personally, I'm more of the mindset like if I lose a tooth, then I'll like do like George Washington and either whittle my own tooth or have somebody else whittle it for me and make my own partial, which is why you never see George Washington grinning in his.
Well, weren't George Washington's false teeth wood?
Yes.
That would be. Wouldn't that chafe? It just seems like it would. It
If
seems like
you
it would chafe and give you splinters in your
you have
gums.
to use a real
It doesn't seem comfortable.
Yeah, I was gonna say it depends on the wood. Hey, Jericho, good to see you, brother.
you have to use a
We got
nice
a lot
smooth
of good
solid
people in the
wood.
Yeah,
area.
I'll bring you on in a little bit.
That's funny. Got chafing of the freaking gums.
Oh man, I got a
That's that
splinter.
area too.
Yeah, I got a splinter in my gums. Holy shit!
I wonder,
Well,
if you could
I
put,
can say this for sure. I could not live my life in Mad Max with no teeth.
Hello, Christy. Good to see you, honey.
Well, I'm just gonna
Listen,
say
yeah.
that to have no teeth is definitely a setback.
This is the most miserable I have ever been in my life, and it's
Yeah.
been over
Yep.
2 months now, waiting on everything to heal up and going back and forth, and
Uh-huh.
and then the whole thing with the implants is they're gonna make me a denture first that I have to wear for 3 months just to make sure the bite is right, the overbite, the under whatever it's called, and
Mhm.
everything I can eat fine and bite fine, and then they'll refashion those, put them in the corner for the implants to heal. So I'm still not, I'm still, 6 months away from it all being done completely.
Howdy, tinfoil. Tinfoil, that's a good one. I've got my tinfoil. I keep it over there right next to my body armor.
tinfoil hat.
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody's ordered some body armor on the way.
Yeah, it's weird. I got the carriers yesterday here. I'll put them.
You're,
Yes, brother. Please please tell. Because you ordered that stuff a month and 2 weeks ago.
April 28th, April 26th.
So they sent you the carrier with no plates?
Yeah. And the only thing I can think is that the plates weigh. I bought 2 sets, so you're looking at about 40 pounds. And I'm these came like UPS, lightweight shit. Because I mean, these alone didn't weigh much. I mean, once I put, the mags on the side, they started getting a little heavier. But yeah, I'm expecting the plates today. I'm expecting them today, and if they don't come in today, Eric, then
hey, Detroit.
Yeah, get up and do a little twirl around with that body armor there.
yeah, wait till I get.
And
Wait
I
till
know
I get. Wait till I get
Well,
the
I know you can't see the comments, Detroit. Miss Mary is asking, how long do implants last?
30 years. So I hope I do have more than 30 years left in me, but that's the average life expectancy. Some people they say go a lot longer. Some people they say have problems right off the bat. But a lot of it is just what you eat. You know, you don't want to be eating jawbreakers and hard cracklings and stuff. You know, it's a trade-off. I mean, the few things I have to give up, don't eat ice, don't eat, you know, jawbreakers. I have no problem giving that stuff up. I don't eat it anyway. But hopefully they'll be the teeth I wear when they put me in my coffin. I really don't like the dentist. I really don't want to go
It
back
sounds like
to the
those
dentist.
teeth are gonna, dude. Your corpse could be like all ash, and your teeth would still be immaculate.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess they're made out of some super hard epoxy super resin or something that they were explaining is not even still yet as hard as your original teeth.
Yeah,
So,
California critic says you'll have a fantastic smile long after you're gone.
He won't have a smile after he's gone. He'll be dead.
yeah. Yeah, I was wondering what you guys thought about this Seattle Autonomous Zone or whatever it is. I don't know if any of you have seen the chief of police from that area go on TV and say they're receiving reports of robberies, rapes, and 2 murders, but they are unable to provide service in that area. Any thoughts, or is it just crazy like I think it's crazy?
I want to give an answer first off, and this sounds cruel, and I hate to say this, but you know, if you walk out into traffic and get run over without, you know, you don't look both ways, and you just walk out into traffic and you get run over, you deserve what you get, man. I mean, I know that might sound a little harsh, but you go into an area like that where there is no real police. They already have asked for no law and order, and then when you walk in, they stop and search you, stop and frisk. You know, I mean, that's got to give you pause. If you, I mean, that's just my personal opinion. You know, how do you? You know, obviously, I'm not condoning any woman, you know, being raped or anybody. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you know, I don't think it's right. Period. But
Well,
but go ahead, Cheshire.
As far as women getting raped in there, it's not. I want you to bear in mind that they ended up taking over 6 city blocks of apartment buildings where there were people who reside in those areas that have absolutely no connection with the Antifa uprising at all. You know what I mean? So
True.
yeah, so basically what they've done is they've thrown out the law enforcement and they're basically running their own laws, and anybody who ended up getting caught within that perimeter is suffering from that. And it's gotten so bad, it's to the point that, you know, the people that were living within that perimeter before Antifa took it over can't even call for help. And I don't even think they're allowed to leave.
That's just a total complete failure of that police department. That's a complete and total failure of that sheriff's county, and that's another complete and total failure of the federal government to act. And I think it's a crime that they should be punished for as well, if that's even possible. What do you think, Ron, about this whole crazy situation?
You know what? I read the tweet that Donald Trump put out where he was like, look, either you do something about this or I'm going to have to. But then what the hell is Donald Trump? I mean, he does have options, but if he does it, it doesn't matter I mean, half the nation is going to be behind them. Say, yeah, just send in the National Guards, because if you don't send in the National Guard, the Patriots are going to go in there and handle this shit, and that could turn into a shit show. But then
Well, it
again,
might actually be better if he lets the Patriots just go in and clean it out, because it's not the National Guard that he heads, and he can't control the populace. That much is apparent.
Well, Cheshire, I wonder, what do you think the Patriots are waiting for? They should have been there by now, in my opinion. If that's
Well, my
their
guess
area,
is
that's their.
my guess is that there's already government officials, FBI and CIA spooks that are already laced within the Antifa group that's within that perimeter. I'm betting anything that they are gathering intelligence on what's going on with those people. You can't tell me that there's not.
Yeah, I mean, I think so, but I mean, let's be honest. If these people couldn't even feed themselves for 3 days, what intelligence does the greatest federal government that's ever existed on this planet need to gather that they
Well,
couldn't gather in 24 hours?
yeah, well, that's really not the point. The point is that there's somebody bigger ahead of them that's funding them. So that would be what you would send CIA and FBI, basically spooks in there to go in and gather that kind of intel. And these people haven't been selected for their intelligence or for their ability to really do anything. They're just basically selected and thrown in there for their ability to cause trouble. They're designed to destabilize. They're not really for anything. They're not going to be there to remake the government. They're there to instill fear into the populace, and they're there to create chaos. That's it.
So you think that there is an entity or a group of people or even a single person that has so much power and influence that they could fund this and get this going on, and the government would have to find out who it was?
Yep.
How could the government not know who it was from day 1 or day 2 or day 3? I mean, we're a week into this now.
Well, I mean,
it,
guess
it would almost have to, it would mean that the government is complicit in this. At some
part of the
level.
part of the government is. That's why there's been the complete apathy and the stand down from the mayor and the governing powers that are in Washington right now. The reason why they're standing back and letting it do it is because there is government complicity, because part of our government is hijacked. It's part way infiltrated, and the reason why we're seeing all this shit now is because they actually feel like they've got their claws deep enough into our government that they feel comfortable actually showing themselves now. So this subversion has gone all the way up to the government level. Now, I do think that there's patriots in there, but it's at this point, the government can't even trust itself. As a patriot, you couldn't go into work and not know who's on what side or not, who's a subversive and who's not. And some of these people who are subversive, I don't know if you've ever looked into the KGB or any of these people that run psyops or any kind of espionage, but these people are like, they're basically psychopathic, pathological liars. Some of these people could even be posing as patriots and gathering intel on the patriots and delivering it to the communist side. So, I mean, it's what we're in is nasty. And it's going to get nasty.
That's why it might be better off if the president does just put us, if the government just does call the militia, because, then we won't have operatives like that. I mean, there might be a couple in the militias, but
I don't even think calling in the National Guard or the militia is even really necessary to even use force. What I think the better option would be for these militias and these National Guards to just start intercepting supplies going in and out of that zone and starve them out slowly and then disband them. That would be the better option.
Well, it would seem with
the more intelligent
at all
option
from the government, they're starving themselves.
Well, one of the big
well, and who knows? There might be people on the ground blocking too. So
Maybe.
One
Yeah.
one of the big problems is that the a lot of the militia members are no different than like myself, for instance. I've got a lot to lose. You know what I'm saying? If I run up in there right off the bat, if I take the fight to them, like in Seattle, I mean, that's a long ways for me. So there is, law wise, there is clear intention that I went to probably do bad. I had full intentions on doing bad. So I think a lot of the patriots or militia members are kind of like, well, it's not in my town, right now. Now, if it comes to my town, I do know that I received a phone call today and talked with someone for a while about what would happen, about getting ready for our area. I live in a lot smaller area than say, obviously a Seattle or whatever, but a lot of the stuff that we talked about was getting ready for our area, to and then pushing out if we're called upon, so I think a lot of people, I think that's what's wrong is right now is like me. I mean, just all to heart. I would love to drive to Seattle right now and go in there and start putting people down, say enough's enough, government ain't going to do it. We will. But at the same time, it's not my area. You know what I'm saying? It's a deal of, not to sound stingy or nothing, but it's one of them deals where, I've got family, I've got things to take care of here.
Yeah.
Now, if I get called, if I get a call and say, hey, this, from the authorities, and they're saying, hey, we need everybody we can get. Damn right, I'm packing my loadout is ready.
Yeah,
I'm going. So it's almost like a timing and a thing of just, you can't go up there. You can't just load out and go up there with 7 guys because you're gonna get arrested.
Yep.
So I think that's where some of the problem is. I think there's probably 6,000 people across this country that would go in a heartbeat. It's just, when do you go? When's the right time?
And something that brings to mind or comes to my mind is, remember those sheriffs that pulled up down there in Texas, in the MRAP? I mean, if you think about it, how many people would you have to be like, screw your MRAP, I don't care if you bring an MRAP tank in here.
30. I'm just guessing.
About 30. Yep, screw that MRAP.
I get what you're saying, but at some point, that's always going to be our excuse. It was down the street. It was around the corner. It was across the country. I mean,
yeah.
Great, we can all defend our houses, but what about the 30 houses down the street? What about the 100 houses across the mile road, or what? You know what I mean? And I'm definitely not, trying to incite anybody or call anybody out or anything like that. It's not my intention. My observation is it's never bad enough for any of the people I know to get involved. So what's the point now? Like, let them have that shit. If the people that live in that 10 square miles don't give a shit, why would anybody else give a shit?
And you know what?
Right.
And even with that, Roger, say you've got 6 city blocks, or you probably got 400 or 500 people living in those at least.
Not even. I saw the aerial footage of it. It's a baseball diamond and 6 apartment buildings.
Okay, so
maybe you got 200 people living there,
and say 10 of them don't want to be there. Actually, right now, I bet it's a lot more than 10. You can say, but why would a conservative even move into that area? That
Well, they probably didn't just move into the area. They probably have been living there. You know, and there's a lot of people that are living in these leftist controlled areas that are like, why, you know, I've been living here for, my family's been here for generations. Why the hell should we have to leave because of this?
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I understand their point.
Well, I'm sure everybody here in the chat, everybody here in the live stream
Hey,
knows
Frank.
what I went through with my neighbors next door. And I had police telling me, I had city officials telling me, why don't you just fucking move? Why you want to deal with this bullshit? I'm like, well, because
Yep.
I ain't
So
fucking
basically-
moving because these people can't get their shit together.
Yeah.
Well,
you know,
and so basically give them the right to move in, and it gives them the right to drive you out.
yeah, I got
I mean, as
something.
far as I'm concerned, you've got no rights at all then.
Yeah, basically. Well, you know, our buddy California Critics is in here, and I'm just curious to see how's everything in California going.
Can you guys hear me?
Hear you
Yes,
fine?
sir.
We can hear you.
Okay, so Detroit prepping, I know how you feel about having shitty neighbors, because and that's a bunch of BS from city officials, from police telling you, why don't you just move? No, why don't you do your damn job and get rid of these turds? Fortunately for me, my neighbor eventually died, so I don't have to deal with that piece of crap no more.
Yeah.
That's
That
the ultimate
being said,
solution, man.
yeah, well, he died in some Final Destination level stuff. But as far as what's going on in California right now, you have a lady by the name of Weber, and what she's pushing, and it just passed, the Democrats up there in Sacramento just passed it, for reparations for people for slavery. Nobody alive today experienced slavery. If they want to talk about reparations to anybody, they need to be talking to the Native Americans. Go talk to them and give them money, because they're still suffering to this day because they are sitting on reservations. And yeah, granted, they can leave, but some of them can't. They're so impoverished that they're so focused on the government taking care of them, they can't leave. Fundamentally, their way of life, their language, their history, their culture is broken. And all they care about now is being on drugs and waiting for the government check to come through. And you got the whole casinos, and they say, well, they make money from that. Not every tribe is a gaming tribe. So they all don't get that money, and they're supposed to share it, but it doesn't work that way.
Before you
I'm
go any
gonna-
further on your story there, or your statement, California Critic, can I just ask if you know the answer to this? Are those casinos even owned and operated by the tribes, or is it like MGM builds a casino on their reservation and they give them a stipend or a kickback or whatever?
Okay, so they are owned by the tribes. However, some tribes will lease their name to, out in San Diego, a lot of the native tribes are called Harras. They're not owned by Harras. Harras just uses their name, and they get a fee from the tribe for being able to use that name, because people recognize the name Harras. But they are owned by the Native American tribes that the land is built on. They have to go through so many regulations just to be able to get into gaming. And it's insane, all the red tape that they have to go through just to build on their own land. But that's bureaucracy. And you guys know as well as I do, anytime the government sticks their hands in anything, you got about 50 layers of red tape just to get to step one. The other thing I was going to mention to you guys coming out of California was, not only was she talking about reparations, there was something else that she was talking about. Oh, affirmative action. I know most of you guys probably know what affirmative action is, but in California about 25 years ago, they did away with it, because affirmative action is discriminatory by nature. It's meant to benefit one group over another group. Regardless of who that group is, it is benefiting somebody based solely on their race. I do not agree with that. The people of California did not agree with it. But this lady is pushing it now in this climate, because, see, Detroit Prepping and Dangerous Freedom, if I saw you guys or Patriot 111%er, or if you guys saw me, I'm Hispanic. We're all different colors of the rainbow, but we're all in agreement on what we believe, and we would all be hanging out together, and
Absolutely.
nobody would question, hey, why
What,
is
you wouldn't hang
Detroit
out with
Prepper
me? Man, I'm sad.
Cheshire? You know we got love for you, girl. So
No, you know,
the
for
point
me,
is,
for me, critic, is if you come up and say I'm an American, don't come up and
right,
say I'm a Mexican American or I'm a Black American, whatever.
right,
You're either American or you're not. Period.
yep,
And right
yep,
now is the boiling point. Are you an American, or if you're not American, then you probably shouldn't be here. Because
right.
right now
See,
All right.
we got
As
enough.
far
but
as
we all
as far as reparations, I got to be honest. Well, the reparation suggestion is absolutely stupid. And who are they gonna get reparations from, and to whom are they going to be paid? Was it specific in the bill?
no, it just basically she's trying to push it forward, and it passed the first steps. But the thing is, they're so concerned about reparations for slavery. But if I was to go to parts of LA, those parts of LA look like a war zone. And it's like they don't care
Sure.
how those look. They don't look at the failing schools in these communities. They don't look at any of that. All they focus on is police are bad and we need more regulation. And it's like, no, you need to hold people accountable. If there are teachers in the schools that are not doing their job, they need to be out. If there are police officers that are committing misconduct, they need to be out. But these are common sense things that I see you guys all nodding your heads, because we all believe that. But let the lying media tell these people, oh, we're all different and we should all hate each other. I got love for all you guys, because you know what? We all have common sense, which apparently is harder to find than a 4-leaf clover nowadays. But
Right.
what do we know? We just love our country.
Well,
Listen,
I mean,
Right.
when I grew up,
Well, and
where I grew up at, we had multiple races of people. You know what I'm saying? We didn't call, dude a black dude. We didn't call dude a brown dude or a Chinese dude. We said that's Ricky. That's Andre over there. That's I mean that's all we knew. I mean, that's
right.
Once I got out of high school and kind of moved out of the little small town I grew up in, and I started really, because we were all country where I grew up. I mean, I didn't make a crap what color you were. We were all, I mean, all these people that I went to school with, my mom and my aunts and uncles went to school with their moms and dads and aunts and uncles. I mean, so when I really started getting out in the real world, and really started, and I started hearing this, this Chinese American, this African American, and I started hearing all these different things, and I started seeing all this stuff, and I'm just like, man, what the hell is wrong with people? I mean, why do I gotta call him by that? I mean, what's his name? Is his name Doug, or is it whatever? I mean, because that's the way I grew up. Is we just knew people by name. We were all friends. I mean, don't get me wrong. There was some of us, we'd get into it and we'd throw knuckles, behind the film.
That's like family. That's like family, man. You absolutely love people, but you get in arguments. Sometimes you don't talk to them for a couple of days, but eventually they're family. You can't. And even with friends, I mean, sometimes you can lose friends, but I mean, most of the time, I mean,
I'm going to be perfectly honest. If you do not argue or disagree with your friends from time to time, you probably have a paper friendship. Like somebody's
Right.
not being honest with the other, or you're not being honest with each other, because the reality is, even when people are friends, they're still two individuals that are not going to think the same, and they're not going to agree on the same things all the time. If you have an honest relationship with somebody, you are going to argue with them, period.
I left a comment
100%,
for Real World
100%.
Prepper. He just put out a video talking about that exact thing, Cheshire Cat. Not my comment was plain and simple. If I agreed with everything you said, we wouldn't be friends. We'd be robots.
Right.
It's impossible. No two people can think exactly alike. I don't care if they're twins.
Precisely.
Yep.
Precisely.
Hey, Sparky.
So
Hey,
so so let me ask you guys this. This is another thing that's coming out in California. I know how I feel about it, but I want to hear your guys' take. The superintendent of schools has basically said if and when schools go back into session for the next school year, he's talking about having class sizes between 10 and 15 students, rotating students. These are some of the options they're saying. Rotating students where half the class would come in for half the day, half the class would come in for the other part of the day. They would do some distance learning. Certain days they would come to school. So that's where, then this is the superintendent of schools. So, Dangerous, I want to hear from you first, and then I want to hear from Detroit Preppin, and then we'll go from there because I know how I feel about it, but I'm just curious if I'm the only one that thinks like this.
Okay. Personally, this COVID thing, it came and it went. But they are they're trying to shove it down our throat. Oh, we still need, I mean, but like when I go to the store, when I go out on my streets, I would say maybe 10% of the people are actually wearing masks, except for like the grocery store attendants that have to wear them and stuff like that. But for the most part, we realized it was stupid. I mean, I'm not saying it was a total hoax. I believe that there is a coronavirus, but we've had coronaviruses for how long? Decades. And we've gotten through them, and we never had to shut down nations. In fact, shut down the entire fucking world. So, and I don't know if they're gonna try and be like, oh man, because of all these protests and everything, now we're getting a second spike type stuff. Because it's bullshit. And you know what? Even if every media nation or even station pushes that stuff down my throat, I'm gonna be like, get out of my face. We ain't having it. And that's my take on that. We're not having it anymore. Yeah, and going back to school with the kids, you know what? I went to school with sick kids when I was a child, and I got over the sicknesses. I had the measles or mumps or whatever it was,
Pox. Well, I guess I'm glad you asked this question because I've put a lot of thought into this. Being a new father for the first time has really made me think about this. I had some ideas before I was a father, and I don't think those ideas have changed much. And I guess instead of talking about what California wants to do, let me throw out what I think should be done. First, I think you should be able to support a household with one person working. I think if you're stupid enough to have children, you should be smart enough to stay married to the person you had children with. I think if you are ignorant enough as I was to bring children into this world, you should be responsible for their schooling until they're of high school age. I think kids should absolutely go to high school. It helps them develop relationships with other people. There's a very valuable lesson that you can only learn in a high school setting. But before that, I think your parents should be responsible for your education. And like I said, the fact that two professionals have to go to work to make ends meet is a sign that what is right is being kept from us. And until we figure out a way to get back to what my grandparents did, got up, went to work, one of them stayed home and took care of the kids and washed the dishes and did all that stuff, we're going to be suffering under the horrible stuff they teach our children and them changing in the middle of the school year, how things go. I mean, my wife has a son that this was his senior year in high school, and he spent 12 years preparing for this, and now he can't walk across the stage. He can't go to his high school prom. He can't do any of that stuff because of their incompetence. Not for anything he's done. He put the 12 years in, and now he's being punished because some idiot doesn't know what they're talking about, or some old blue-haired lady is scared and doesn't want to pass out the diplomas, or whatever the case is. And until we get back to fixing the family, we're going to be 10 miles down the road from where we should be, until we're so far down that road that, our kids are hating us. Our kids are telling us we're what's wrong with the world. They're, dyeing their hair blue and trying to take over a baseball field or whatever the case is. I mean, to me, it's so plain and clear. I mean, I don't know what you think, Cheshire, but I'd love for you to reel this back in, because I got another 20 minutes of complaining to do, and I don't want to bore everybody. It's a nightmare.
I'm a little more ambitious. I'm a
Please
little more
do share
ambitious.
your
I have a little more of a vision in my mind than I've heard here. I see this as an absolute opportunity to completely retake control of our children's education. And I agree with Detroit prepping. I really do. I wish that we could have an entire household run on one income. I really do. I really think that it would be constructive to be able to go back to that. And so that women, because right now the way that I see it is women have the option. We've got the right to go to work, but for some real strange reason, part of our choice does not involve being able to stay home and raise our children as we see fit. It's actually considered shameful to want to do something like that.
Right.
So I'm actually seeing this as an opportunity to perhaps start shifting the culture back into that direction, that give women a little bit more choice to stay at home. And I'm finding that females now are more educated than ever. I would feel very comfortable being able to stay home and educate my children.
Right.
Now, this is where I'm going to start getting ambitious. So there's all these calls for defunding the police. So I'm all for retaking control of our children's educations. How much money are we paying in taxes to fund both of these entities? And if they're going to defund the police, why don't they start defunding the public education system? And with that being said, we would have all the ammunition that we need to start pushing for a tax rebellion. Because the next entity I would like to defund would be Congress.
Not the
I'm seeing
children.
opportunities here, guys. You can let me know what you think. What are your thoughts?
Well, let's hear what Patriot 111%er has to say about the whole school thing, and then we'll get into that, because I agree with you, Cheshire. You're on the right track.
Well, first off, brother, with all due respect, it's Patriot 3%er. It's just a numbers thing. Cheshire and
my bad.
No, it's all good. I just so second thing,
111% is way better than 3%.
I'm not hell bent on complaining about the situation. I'm hell bent on seeing what move we can make in tandem with the moves they're making. I see this more as a chess game than I see this as we're powerless and we can't do anything. No, we can't be thinking like this. We really can't.
See, I agree with everything that's been said here. I mean, these are the thoughts that I'm having. One of the things that I want to point out about this is this whole school shutdown, because they sent us, a survey to ask, the parents' opinion about sending our kids back to school or not. And basically what I said in the big comment section was, well, I said a lot, but basically in the comment section, I said, look, life is dangerous. You get in your vehicle to drive to work, every time you pass a car, you pass death. And the reason I say
Yep.
that is because if you're doing 45, you're doing 50, you're doing 70 miles an hour, if that car veers off and hits you head on, that's possible death. You know, so do we stop driving? Do we start walking to work? I mean, where does this stop? You know, because the thing about it is that people, I mean, you know, people die from the flu. People die from heart disease. People die from all kinds of stuff. I mean, do you just lay in your bed and just stop living? You know, and
Right.
so it's really irritated me that every single thing, you know, the CDC, every single thing that all these doctors have said has changed, you know, sometimes even daily, you know, well, wear a mask, don't wear a mask. Well, wear a mask for this, but well, you know, so for me, it's more of, you know, when do you stop being a wuss? You know, I mean, I'm just saying, you know, I mean, yeah, stop being
Yeah,
a
it's
freaking wuss. And you know, don't get me wrong. I know I've heard of people dying from coronavirus. I know some people even in the chat over here who has had it and was very sick. And I get it. I had the flu one time, and I'm telling you, it kicked my hind end. And that was when I was a lot younger. You know, I mean, it put me down. I mean, seeing dizzy and walking around, you know, bumping into walls, and you know, but I mean, guys,
Yeah, but any one of us can catch viral meningitis or something weird by chance. You can't just live
Yep.
your life based on that damn fear.
TB.
It's,
TB is
yeah, you
another
could
one.
catch tuberculosis. It's extremely contagious. There's just a number
there-
of things that could get us, and so, but getting back to education, what education? What education are kids getting now? California Critic. I
Right.
mean, in California,
No.
they're teaching transgender studies.
Yeah,
They're teaching-
they're
Are you kidding me?
They're teaching
No.
these kids that all you got to do is identify as a man or a woman, and poof, you become one.
right,
What?
right. It's insane.
but
They
I
are-
did.
They're really teaching that in California.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah, and
they're
not only-
they're,
they're
they're
also-
teaching
they're
all kinds of
also-
stuff.
I'm glad I don't have my camera on right now. Oh man.
I wanted to bring up one other point though, on the school thing. This is on the school thing. For those people that are listening right now that have children in school and they are doing their stuff online, anything that is streamed, make sure you have a spot set up that has just a build
Background,
of
plain background.
background, yes, because that's already happened to a kid that was in Cub Scouts, and he had a couple of BB guns and a bow and arrow, and he is very proficient with them. And they sent the police to his house with a search to search the house because somebody on the camera noticed that there was guns sitting behind them, and they sent the cops there. Now they didn't have a search warrant at first, and the lady was like, I ain't got nothing in the house but a couple of BB guns. So she allowed them in. But you know as well as I do, if the cops show up and they say that we feel that there's a danger to the children in the house because they see guns in the background, they can get a warrant real quick.
Mm.
You know,
Right.
so that's something to think about, just by the way.
That's a great point. It's a real good point. As far as Cheshire Cat saying about the teaching transgender studies, that is 100% true.
California
Also-
Critic. My brother lives in California. My niece
You know-
goes to California public schools, and when he told me
You know-
that shit, I almost had a fucking heart attack.
I bet.
Dude, she's
So-
in the
so check-
fucking third grade, dude.
So check
doesn't
this
even-
out. You're right, Detroit. So they're not only talking about, oh, boys could be girls and all this other nonsense that doesn't support science. They always want to tout science about climate change, but when you tout science about gender and anatomy, oh, that doesn't exist. It's non-existent for gender and anatomy, but for some fake made up science, if you drive your car too long, a penguin in Madagascar is going to die, and you're like, what are you talking about? That makes absolutely no sense. But
Yeah.
what they're also teaching is, so check this out. They're teaching not only transgender stuff, they're teaching about alphabet soup stuff, and they're also telling them about S&M, bondage, teaching them about anal, all this stuff in 7th grade. Has
Well,
nothing
that's
to
the
do with
problem.
sex education.
You know what? I'll tell you what. No child that I have control over will ever step foot in a public school until they are a teenager and are well versed by me as to
Right.
what is and is not acceptable. And I don't need a teacher to teach them what the birds and the bees are or
Right.
whatever crazy shit they got going on now. And any parent, be mad at me or not for saying this, any parent that would send their child to a public school is, in my opinion, doing their child a great disservice in this world.
Do you know what's
And,
interesting
I
to
get
me?
it. For some people, it's daycare, but at some point, you have to make a decision on whether you want to drive a brand new Cadillac or you want to sit at home and teach your children how the world is and not how these people are making the world out to be.
Right.
Do you know what's really interesting to me about the transgender, I guess the transgender movement and what it's most concentrated on? It's most concentrated on men that want to identify as women, to the point of
Yeah.
that they're absolutely erasing women's rights as we know it.
Yep.
Well,
So
I'll tell you
I'll
what,
share.
if I was a professional athlete and all I had to do was dress up like a girl to win the gold medal, hey, I'd be all about that. And that's all they're doing. They're enabling these men
Yeah.
Well,
to
it's
dress up
it's
like
about more
women.
than that. So
And
now you got these men who can identify as women. If they commit a violent crime, they can just identify as a woman and get sent to a woman's prison where they
No.
basically
No.
violate the
they
women.
definitely cannot go
No.
to a woman's
That
prison. The
is
government ain't
that's
that
not
fucked
true.
up yet.
Yeah,
They're not that fucked up
Okay.
yet.
Okay.
they're pushing.
You're
I think they've
definitely
done
on the
a few
right
of them.
track, Cheshire. What's that?
No, I'll share with you guys because I have experience working custody here in the liberal bastion that is California.
Yeah.
Just because a man identifies as a woman, when they came into custody, they were not allowed to be housed with women. They would be housed first with other transgender inmates to protect them, because what would happen is when they would put them in protective custody, other inmates that were in there would sexually assault them. So they put them by themselves at 1st.
Mhm.
Then they filed lawsuits across the state saying, hey, we're being discriminated against. So they started putting them back in regular protective custody units. As long as
Mhm.
he has male anatomy, he'll never be allowed, because biologically, regardless of how he identifies, the state would never put a formerly male inmate in with females, because if he assaults them, the state's on the hook, because they'll say, you knew that Jane over there used to be John and is sexually assaulting female inmates and had no business ever being in here.
Oh yeah, yeah. I know for
So
sure that
California,
no man
do you actually work in corrections?
I did. I worked in corrections for over 13 years.
Hey,
Okay.
T Ripper, what's going on, my
I've
brother?
never even heard a story of a man being locked up in a women's prison, or vice versa, for that matter. I think that's where the buck stops with your right to identify when you
Right, it
walk
does.
through those double bars.
It does.
And you can cry and complain and go talk to the counselor all you want, but I don't think they'll
Right.
be driving you down the road to the women's prison.
No, because then
Well,
if that was the case,
disturbing.
go ahead, Cheshire.
No, I was just saying it's a really disturbing trend. And what's extremely
Yes.
disturbing is that my right is actually trampled on as to whether or not I actually identify these people as either looking like a man, womanoid, I guess, appearing as a woman, or I mean, as far as I'm concerned, if you've got a bulge and you've got the broad shoulders and a 5 o'clock shadow, you look like a man.
That's
Right.
right.
Right. So I got to share a story with you guys about transgender men who identified as females. Okay. So this is from my time in custody. So try not to laugh too hard. So we had 3 of them. They were housed together because, of course, for victim potential. They didn't want them to be victimized by other individuals. So they were in this housing unit that only housed 4 people. So it's a night shift. We're working night shift, and we hear this blood-curdling scream. So the jail I was working in at the time was very small. So we run around looking to see, like, all right, where's the scream coming from? Because you got to protect people from being injured. We figure out it's coming from the tranny tank. So as soon as they open the door, one of the guys is covered in blood, and the other guy his face is busted up. So we pull them apart. This is after they got pepper sprayed. They're in their t-shirts and underwear. And mind you, these 3 he males or she males, whatever you want to call them, had breast. So they get pepper sprayed, they get decontaminated. We take the guy we believe to be the aggressor over to medical, and we're questioning him and asking him, hey, what happened? So he proceeds to tell us that the other she-male kept bullying him and trying to mess with him. So finally, he said the scream that we heard was him letting out a Comanche yell before he bit that other she-male in the ear and proceeded to punch her face in.
Oh,
So
that's just lovely.
So
Holy crap.
basically,
Very ladylike.
that was very ladylike. But see, that's the thing. They identified as girls, but when push came to shove and the crap hit the fan, the male aggressive testosterone came out, and that he male or she male beat the snot. And when I say beat the snot, I mean that other she male was bloody and pulverized and had a piece of her ear missing because the other one was not only a she male, she was psycho.
Oh,
Aren't
dear.
they all? I thought they all were. Honestly.
Yeah, but he let it out. He let it out, and it was funny because the other one, the main one we thought was the aggressor, was actually the victim, and just stood up and proceeded to do what happens to bullies, beat the snot out of the bully, and he seriously jacked that other she-male up. I would have loved to have had video of that. You know, when dudes and chicks attack, you know, that would have been pay-per-view right there.
Yeah. It's a shame, man.
Those kind of like
think,
bum fights. Have you ever seen bum fights?
Yeah, that I have.
Shim fights.
I'm not-
Fights.
I'm not a medical professional or anything
That's
like
messed
that.
up.
but I would definitely have to say anybody that suffers from that condition should definitely receive intensive psychological counseling long
Yes,
before they start hormoning themselves and cutting off parts
Yes.
and adding parts and
It's no different than
anybody that
gender
would argue-
dysphoria.
well, and the worst
That's
I've been
exactly what it
hearing
is.
is
Or not gender
people-
dysphoria, but like body dysmorphic disorder.
what
By
I've
the
been
way-
It
hearing
falls under
is,
it falls under the same thing.
Yeah.
what I've been hearing about these parents, you know, getting their adolescent children on these medications because their kid says they identified as this or that. I mean, it's criminal. And
Yeah.
any parent that would do anything to their child before that child was old enough to move the fuck out of their house is an absolute moron. Should not be in charge of any children.
I agree.
So what if your child identifies as a drug addict? Are you going to give them heroin and meth?
Yeah. I
Good point.
love it, California Critic. I think I'm gonna have to use that from now on.
Good point.
By all means, by all means. Are you going to give them alcohol and be like, hey man, let's have a brew
Yeah, he identifies as a
about your
lush.
day?
You know,
Well, what's really messed up about it is it's gender dysphoria is right up there with body dysmorphic disorder, and body dysmorphic disorder is quite often found in women, actually, and men with eating disorders.
Yeah.
So, in the case of, we'll say, anorexia nervosa, the person identifies as a fat person, like they think they're fat no matter what they do. And so they starve themselves and starve themselves and starve themselves down because they see themselves as being a fat person. Now, how is this any different from being a man? You see yourself as a woman, or, you desire to be a woman, just as an anorexic sees themselves as fat, but desires to be thinner, but always sees themselves constantly fat. So it's kind of in the same neighborhood as that. And what we do not do is we do not encourage an anorexic person to continuously, oh yeah, of course you're fat. You should eat a little less, even though the reality is that they weigh 75 or 80 pounds and they're dying.
Right.
So the transgender movement to me is ultimately dangerous, and it's not good for these people. It's not.
Yes.
Suicide
They have
rate.
yes. Yeah. Exactly, Patriot. The suicide rate, I believe, is at 40%, and they're only 2% of the population. So
that's
Cheshire is right down. Cheshire is like standing at the corner of of both streets and speaking absolute sense. That's why you'll never hear that on the media, because gender dysphoria was a mental health classification that these people would be treated for before. And like Detroit said, they should have to undergo psychological counseling, because plain and simple, something's not right if you believe in your mind that your body is not the body you're supposed to have. That some wiring got crossed, and something needs to be fixed. Because granted, I have no issues with transgender people. If you want to live your life as a male or a female, kudos. But if I don't agree with you, don't sit there and tell me I'm narrow-minded or I'm a bigot because I don't agree with you. You live your life, I'll live my life. But don't expect me to bend over backwards to give you extra rights that trample on what I believe in. When, it's like, just like Cheshire said, there is no way in hell, if I ever saw a shim walking into the bathroom and my daughter's in there, that I'm going to allow that. I'd be like, hey, bro, you go use that bathroom. That's the unisex bathroom. And if they came and said, well, I identify as a female, and say, well, my eyeballs don't lie, you look like a dude, go take a piss in that one over there, because if not, we're going to have a problem.
Arky's getting feisty.
I unfortunately have a son, so I'm sure he'll be able to go into the same bathroom as me, unless they make this shit crazy, like kids' bathroom over here, adult bathroom over there. But if I had a daughter and she was 10 years old, she's going in the fucking men's bathroom with me and using it while I stand there and watch her, and I don't give a fuck what nobody says. Right. So I don't have to worry about some weird fucking man walking in the girls' bathroom.
Yeah, no doubt.
Like,
and
I'm sure my wife can handle herself if a hairy fucking leg slips its way underneath her stall. So, I mean,
but that shouldn't even be the case.
There's a lot of things that I don't even think are worth a fight, because, like I said, if I had a 10-year-old daughter, there ain't no way I ain't marching her into the men's bathroom and standing in front of the stall door while she does her business if we have to go to the bathroom. I mean, any man that would send his daughter into a bathroom full of other women, I think, is maybe not thinking so clearly.
Yeah.
There's women predators just the same as there's men predators.
Absolutely.
A 10-year-old child into a place where you have no visual contact with them. And expect them to just grow and use the bathroom. I'm not going for it. My niece was 10 years old and said she had to use the bathroom, and she had to use the men's bathroom while I stood outside the stall door, and she did her business. And that's just the way it was with Uncle Ty. And
and it was similar with me, actually, Detroit, because like my mom, when I was like 5 and 6, maybe I had to go to the bathroom, so she would go up to the door and stand right outside the door, let me go in. But I just went in, used the urinal, and if I wasn't out within like 2 or 3 minutes, then she would like open the door and be like, hey, are you done yet? You know, and at the same time, she would also make me like if she had to go to the bathroom, she would like literally put me right out front of the stall and be like, "I've got to see your legs. Don't move. You got to take care of business here." You know, my
Right.
very protective mother, and she still is protective,
But
especially.
that's reasonable. That's all that everything we just said is reasonable. A man
Yep.
by himself walking into a woman's bathroom is not reasonable. Under any circumstance. I don't give a fuck what he's wearing.
Right.
Hey,
So I was gonna say, you guys are all on point 100%. Whenever like my nephews or my kids had to use the bathroom, somebody always went with them, no matter what. And the reason why was because when I was younger, there was a little boy in San Diego who was at the beach with his family, and everybody knows there's some grifters at the beach. He went to the bathroom, and there was some dude that had mental health issues that had been hanging around the beach. And when the little boy went in to use the bathroom, the dude slit his throat and murdered him in the bathroom.
oh
And his
no.
family found
Man.
him. Yes, his family
That's
found
not
him when he didn't come back in a short amount of time. They were like, "Where's he at?" And they found him laid out with his throat slashed because this piece of trash went in there and killed him while he was using the bathroom.
Oh my God.
Mm.
That's unreal, man.
And after that, it didn't matter if I was with my little nephews, with my little cousins. Nobody went to the bathroom by themselves because there are sick freaks in this world and working custody. A lot of people switching topics here, but a lot of people talk about how police are the way they are. Okay. I can only speak to my experiences.
Yeah, if you got a
When
witness,
you deal, right, okay. When you deal with people who are the lowest common denominator of the human race on a consistent basis, and you see and you hear and you read what these people have done, it is hard to look at people who are acting a specific way as human beings because you've seen human nature at its most animalistic, barbaric form. So it's hard not to become cynical and be suspicious of people because you know what people are capable of doing.
yep.
That being said, no police officers that I know agree with what happened to George Floyd. That is horrible what happened to him.
Mm,
It should have never happened, but it doesn't only happen to black people, brown people, or white people. It happens to lots of people, but not at the levels that the media is manipulating these people to make it seem like that it's happening at a ridiculous rate. I've personally worked with individuals, an individual in particular, one of my sergeants, he was shot in the line of duty. He was shot by a career criminal. He was shot right in the face. And at the time, I wasn't working with him. I eventually worked with him later. But he saw a guy that looked suspicious. And mind you, everybody wants to play the race card. If you look like a dirtbag, you're probably going to get attention from the police. Plain and simple. If you're walking down the street minding your own business and you see the police and you don't try to go the other way or look away from them like you're up to something, because most police officers go through training to identify nonverbal cues that you give off. People always wonder why sometimes cops get aggressive when someone hasn't really done anything. It's because they're watching the people's verbal cues, the nonverbal cues. So it's not someone saying, "Hey man, F you." It could be someone that's passively looking at you, and you could tell by the way they're looking at you that they're thinking about doing something. So you have to react before they get the opportunity to injure you. And the reason why you see when you see officers jumping on people, and there'll be like 5 or 6 of them, because they want to overwhelm with power, so that they don't have to sit there and tase somebody and beat on them repeatedly. Because if it's just me, Detroit, and Dangerous Freedom, and we're going up against a 300-pound guy, we're going to have to use a lot of force on them to try to gain control.
yeah.
So if all of us jump on them,
yeah. My buddy Billy kind of helped me out with that problem. I don't care. I don't care if you weigh 10 pounds or 500. Dude, what I've got will take down an elephant.
Right, right.
Well,
And the thing is that
but you may not have that. What will take down an elephant at the time? That's
Right.
the problem. I mean, you can carry all you want to. You know, if someone, you know, pulling out something and taking down an elephant per se, just we're going to use that language. Man, you're talking about, you know, I mean, you're taking a big step. You know, I mean, you pull out something that'll take down an elephant, you're taking a big step, you know, and that, you know, you're, you know, he's talking about just actually fighting someone, you know, taking hold of the situation. Obviously, yeah, you bring out your stuff and you know, it's all good, but man, I'm gonna tell you what, it's you're right about that, California, about the training that the police get. You know, I have some very good friends in law enforcement, and you know, we've hung out and talked, you know, about this very thing, and they're trained to look at certain body languages and certain eye contact, you know. So it's something you gotta think about for sure.
I'll give you guys another example of one of my experiences. I was working and an individual, one of my partners, because I work custody, so it's a little different than working the street, but you're still level on a more consistent basis. Instead of a few hours, you're dealing with some of these people for years. So they got in an argument. We were doing clothing exchange, and they got in an argument over the size of the clothing that the officer was trying to give this individual. So what happened was I walked by because it was all done through a hatch, through a secured door. I walk by and then I hear them arguing. Well, my partner decides to open the door without letting anybody know. That's kind of like, he really shouldn't have done that, but his ego kind of got the best of him in that moment. So he ends up opening the door and telling the guy, step out. Well, as he tells the dude to step out, the dude's like, nah, man, I don't want to hear it. Get away from me. So he tells him, step out again. He refuses. And then he ends up stepping in, and he goes to grab the guy's arm. Well, now he's made it physical. Like Patriot was saying, he stepped it up a little bit, and it's kind of escalated the situation. So as he grabs his arm, the guy pulls away. They end up getting in a scuffle. They start scuffling. They end up rolling around. They go to the ground. But as soon as my partner grabbed him and rushed him against the wall, I was watching the whole situation. It happened in a split second, but I saw the guy's eyes, the inmate. I saw his eyes. And immediately when they hit the wall, I could see by his body language and his eyes that he knew he messed up. So he wasn't fighting back. And as we get him on the ground, we go to roll him over, cuff him. A bunch of other people come running because someone called it out that there was a fight and there was staff involved. And they're telling him, they're screaming and it's all chaotic and they're yelling, show us your effing hands. Give us your hands or we're going to tase you. And I had to sit there and tell them, he's not resisting. Step back, get back. And I'm yelling at my partners like stop, like don't escalate it. He's not resisting. He gave up. So we end up cuffing him. We take him and put him in a holding cell. Later on that day, they say, hey, dude wants to talk to you. He's still sitting in this holding cell because they're trying to figure out what they're going to do with him. And so I'm like, well, what does he want? You know, like, I'm just like, man. So I go over and he actually thanked me. And he told me, hey, you know what, man? I just want to tell you thank you. And this guy was looking at life. So he really had nothing to lose by fighting with staff. He said, hey, I just want to tell you thank you. And I'm like, for what? He's like, because you didn't let them beat me up. You didn't let them tase me or do anything to me, even though they had a right to do it. You stopped them. And I told him, look, bro, I could see in your eyes that you made the mistake and you realized it immediately. So tasing you or beating on you would be pointless because that's not gonna benefit anybody. And I said if you were my family member, I would hope that somebody would do that for someone in my family. And I wanted to treat you as a human being. You made a mistake. You shouldn't get beat up.
I have a question, and I would like to ask Cheshire about this. She seems to be a little more psychologically, if that's the right word for it, in tune with stuff like this. What would be your point? What would be your thoughts on, let's say, with the things that are going on right now? And I would, and even after Cheshire is through, and I would really like for Gun Docs to speak on this as well. What would be your thoughts on the way things are going right now with, they're taking over these cities. We're seeing people getting beat. We're seeing old women get beat with 2x4s. These people are getting thrown down, and kicked in the face and hit with bricks in the face. And what would be your thoughts on the psychological type of warfare and how do we meet that? You see what I'm saying? How do we go to that level without seeming like we're crazy?
That is a loaded ass question.
Well, I'm a loaded kind of guy.
Okay.
Looks like Gun Doc's ready to answer it. It looks like.
Yeah. Gun Doc, Gun Doc.
Have any of you guys seen the video by Yuri Bezmenov?
Which one is that?
Yuri Bezmenov was an ex-KGB agent that ran and defected from the Soviet Union somewhere like 30 to 40 years ago. He goes into a lot of these psychological subversion tactics. But I see Gun Docs below raising his hand. I can see him squiggling in his seat to answer, so I think I should let him answer.
No, please go right ahead.
No, you go right on ahead.
Bezmenov, especially with reference to the useful idiots. Go right ahead.
Well, don't let this old country boy stump you guys.
So basically what Yuri described in the video was doing, well, they were shooting for one generation of completely indoctrinated children, basically pumping this propaganda into their skulls. And basically what they've done is they have twisted these people to the point where they can't make out their own reality. So what's gone on is that multiple generations, probably since the 60s, have been brainwashed in a lot of this leftist kind of propaganda. And even my own parents were brainwashed. And so in these kinds of brainwashing, what's happened are different psychological manipulative abuses in the household where kids have been growing up with this kind of psychological abuse that was resonated from the indoctrination that their parents were taught. And so now these people have basically personality disorders, ranging from borderline personality disorder to narcissistic personality disorder, but these people have the absolute inability to discern their reality. They don't know what's truth. They don't know what's a lie. They don't know which way is up and which way is down. These people are pathological liars. They don't know how to tell the truth, basically. That's what political correctness is. So when they started instilling a political correctness, now we have a laundry list of things that we can and can't say because it will hurt the feelings of other people, which is basically just saying it'll rile up these people with personality disorders, which if you look around, there's a lot of them. So this is the psychological subversion that we have been subjected to for probably 2 or 3 generations now. And the numbers of it are so large that about 50% of the population at least has some kind of, I would say, a cluster B personality disorder. They're extremely common in women, I would say more women are personality disordered than are not.
Well, I don't know. That's going a little far.
That just
No, a lot of them are.
50% on the women's side.
But what they've done, what Yuri described was, they couldn't really use, because in the Soviet Union it was class that they pushed. It was the proletariat versus the bourgeoisie, so the haves and the have-nots. The United States, they didn't have the option to press this, and the reason why was because there was a thriving middle class. There really weren't a lot of, there's definitely some haves and there's some have-nots, but there's some people that are well provided for, and they're pretty happy about that. So that's why you've seen the slow subversion of the middle class and the gutting of the middle class. They were trying, but that didn't work. The most immediate thing that they were able to use and push were, well, one of the biggest fissures in the United States is race. The next biggest fissure is man versus woman, gender politics. The next fissure is gay rights. And it just keeps, now you got other fissures, fat versus thin. So they're playing on all these people, but basically it's what these people psychologically understand is that envy and jealousy the haves and have-nots is not just tied to monetary having and have-not. It's also tied into other things. Like as far as the whole fat shaming thing, it's basically tied into the envy that fat women have for thin women, or pretty privileged. The women that see themselves as less attractive than other women, pretty privileged. Beta males.
I like a little cushion on my women. I'm not gonna lie.
Hey, you know what? There's someone for everyone. That's the world we live in. But basically, you have to understand that this is just absolute psychological abuse. Now, whether or not you've ever believed that such a thing exists, but it's a combination of basically it's indoctrination. Causing you to fragment your personality. So basically, the part of yourself that you have to give up in order to be able to survive in the society. Resentment builds and explodes, and it's just a lot of gaslighting. And so what they're doing is they're subverting our ability to be able to make sense of the world, and they've literally built a large number of people that are completely impervious to any kind of scientific truth. Reality. So
yep. That's the problem with cultism.
Yeah. I think those of us that understand what has gone on have probably had experiences with being either physically or psychologically abused, but then came out, wary, but maybe not exactly normal, but we know it when we see it. But a lot of the other people that are halfway normal out there, these people. And this is what's paralyzing the nation is you've got a lot of people who were raised in a healthy manner, who have never been subjected to anybody who was really this sick or evil before. So they don't really understand what's happening. They can't move, or they don't think it's real, or they don't think that anybody would do something this manipulative or evil. So,
right.
But, I happen to be a part of a minority of people who have experienced this in my life and who is able to see it plainly. And that's why I can call it out. All right, I'm done. I think I've said it.
So gun docs. So how do we address this situation without ourselves looking Looney Tune and ignorant like they are? Because I could never see a person fall into the ground and kick them in the face and like hit them with a brick. If we got to go knuckles or do whatever it is we got to do, I'm cool with that. That's the way it is. But to gang up on a single person. Dude, when I see these videos, I'm thinking these people are freaking Looney Tunes, man. And how do you consciously meet that and go to where you need to go without looking crazy yourself? Or can you?
You don't.
Okay.
Plain and simple. You don't.
Right.
If you have to go to that point, which I really hope we won't
Correct.
I'm just going to tell you, if you thought about this even the littlest bit, you get in that situation and you're just going to react.
Right.
And you're going to make what happen, needs to happen.
Right.
And that's it.
Ignorant begets ignorant.
And
Well-
it doesn't matter anything else about, the way that we think about things right now. That's the biggest reason why I hope that we don't get into that kind of situation. We all, we know the word for it. We just can't say it, but we all hope that we don't get in that sort of situation.
Right. Well,
How close would you say we are to getting into that situation?
Yeah, unfortunately, we kind of are. I really don't think that we're quite there yet.
We're already there.
I don't think we're quite there yet. I think we
Yeah.
are right on the cusp. We are closer than we have ever been.
We'll
The
see.
last time,
I'm sorry, Cheshire. Go ahead. Ladies first.
I appreciate that. The last time that the country's been in this kind of turmoil was right before the Civil War. The divisions and everything are definitely lining up. It's eerie, but I'm going to agree with Gundox here that there really isn't. The only thing that we can do is still hope that our voting works. But our best tactic is basically a defensive and not an offensive. So unfortunately, we're going to have to wait until basically loads of Antifa and BLM start storming our neighborhoods and then start picking them off that way. But remember, it was many live streams back when I said that this was going to be a war of optics. Do you
Yes.
remember that?
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Completely agree.
Basically what we need to do, well, it is because anything that we do, even if we're completely justified, the mainstream media is completely pitted against us. Like it's completely stacked against us.
They're
And so,
for an
like,
opportunity.
there was a case. I'm sorry.
They're waiting for an opportunity.
Correct. So whatever happens, we need to make sure that we are utterly justified in our actions, meaning that we can't go out and just offensively go and take out Antifa in Seattle. We can use more covert means. The covert means I suggested before would to be to the militias not to go in there with their guns ablazing and all that, but would be to cut off supply routes, checkpoints, shut off water, shut off electricity, and basically just wait for them to starve out. And this is the tactic that the Visigoths used against the Romans. It worked. It would be very effective because I'll tell you what, these Antifa that have 6 blocks of Seattle hold up are not the Romans.
You got that.
So if we were gonna go on an offensive and solve it that way, that would be the way that I would recommend. But for those of us on the ground here who live in suburbia, we're basically going to just have to wait until these mobs come for us and then defend ourselves. So that's going to be our option. That will it'll be kind of a Lexington and you know what though, this works because what kicked off the American Revolution the first time was the British marks on Lexington and Concord. That was purely defensive. They had all the justification they needed.
Can I jump in on this one real quick?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so Patriot, you asked, how do people get to this level where they're hitting people with bricks and sticks? Again, I can only go off of my life experiences. I've seen where two groups of people with opposing ideologies have decided, you know what, enough is enough. Here in California, especially within custodial settings, everything is divided based on race. You are segregated based on race and solely on race. It is something that you normally don't see on the streets, but it becomes extremely important when you go into custody. You have to stick with a specific group, and that's all there is to it. So when you get two groups of people that don't like each other solely based on the fact that they're two different ethnicities and they attack each other, they to see that level of savagery, it's ridiculous. And the only way you get to that point is because, like Cheshire said, you've been manipulated your entire life, mentally, physically, you've been abused, and you've come to a point where you've made so many poor choices to get to that point that that other person, you don't see humanity, you see your enemy. And that's how these people have gotten there, because they, like I said, they are the animalistic level of human beings. You are seeing it when these people are attacking other people, beating them with bricks, hitting them with 2x4s, shooting them because they come to defend a pawn shop or come to see what's going on, and they leave them there dead, laughing at them, because humanity is, it's what you make it. And if you have empathy for your fellow man, these people have been conditioned to have no empathy for the other people because, like Cheshire said, they're easily manipulated. They've been brainwashed to where all they care about is their agenda and their objective. And they're using us as pawns. And I believe that we're closer than ever to something jumping off. But it's not going to be like the first Civil War, North versus South, white versus black. It's going to be American. It's going to be people who are conservative and believe in what America stands for versus people who want to create communism, socialism, all the isms. But because we believe in this country, we can't openly speak our mind because we'll be pegged as bigots. You'll be pegged as a racist. Regardless of what your ethnicity is, you'll be pegged as a sellout if you're a black dude or a Hispanic. They'll be like, what do you mean you support Trump? And I'm like, I'm for right and wrong. I don't care what color you are. If you believe in this country, you're an American, like Dangerous said earlier. We all believe in the same things. So we'll all ride together, but let the mainstream media, who uses manipulation tactics on a daily basis, they won't tell you. They'll tell you half truths. They'll tell you half truths to manipulate you. And there's too many people that don't question stuff anymore.
Well, I'll tell you something. I noticed that if I'm not stepping overboard here, that Robin G had made a comment earlier about when I said, about fighting back and such, and she said, I know that they think that, or they know that we won't, and I want to respectfully disagree with that, because the thing about it is that I don't think that it's that we won't. I think that the situation, because dude, I'm just going to tell you, man, I live in a small town, man. I see absolutely zero of this unless I turn on the news or turn on YouTube. I mean, here, you hardly even see anybody wearing a mask, dude. I mean, it's like we do. I mean, none of this, no rioting, no protesting. I mean, there's different ethnicities here. Everybody's hi, how's it going? Laughing, joking. So it's so the only time I see this. But at the same time, there are plenty of people here that we have been in discussion about if they did, break out into the smaller communities. I'm gonna tell you right now, you come to my community and you try to burn down the guy's barbershop that's been cutting my hair for years and years. He cut my son got his first haircut there. My grandson got his first haircut there. I'm going to tell you right now, you are not throwing bricks and burning his place down. I will shoot you dead if I can say that on air. I don't mean it to that way, but dude, you're not coming here doing
Eric. Oh man.
But how do you so my whole point of it is that you don't when somebody like me that doesn't see it on a daily basis, you know, I mean, I'm just kind of like, you know, hell, I mean, I don't know, you know, Seattle. I mean, alls I've ever seen, I've never been there before. Alls I know is that it's a liberal shithole. Just saying,
Yep.
you know. So, you know, I don't know, you know, anybody's got any comments on that? Go ahead, brother. I mean, I'm just saying, you know.
Yeah, 12B. I think 12B has it down pat. Looters out in my area, and they're not going to get very far.
Looters?
No. like literally, we will shoot you before you loot. So don't even try and throw a brick at a window. I mean, if you try and start a fire, we're going to be out there pissing on you. You know,
Well, first and foremost, I don't know what your guys' neighborhoods look like, but if they came here to loot, it would be just for practice. They don't riot in places where they have jewelry and safes and cash in a dresser drawer under the underwear, whatever. They burn down the neighborhood they live in, and then they complain that they can't walk to the store to get groceries. Or, I mean, I totally believe that rioting and looting is an acceptable form of protest as long as you go do it at the governor's house. As long as you go do it at your
Well, I don't understand in Minnesota why they're not doing it at the governor's house. Chauvin was underneath their tutelage. They were the leaders of Minneapolis. The police don't just make up their own rules. It's top down. So I don't understand why they burnt down the city of Minneapolis and didn't go into the leaders' neighborhoods and start pulling that shit.
Because there would have been
It's interesting to me.
Overwhelming police force. They would have never made it halfway to the governor's house. And why they say they can't defend those poor people in Seattle, let those people that are in Seattle right now say they're marching to the governor's house or the whatever, and I bet you they would find a way to stop those people.
What they mean by defund the police and what these politicians mean by defund the police is they want to defund the police for you and me, but not for themselves.
Well, I'll tell you what, I've got a set of wheel guns and holsters, and I got a and everything else. If I need to police my block, I'm able to do so, and I'm willing to do so.
Yeah, but
however,
always make sure that
there another 65 of me to cover
themselves
all the rest of the streets in this neighborhood?
I don't know about that, Eric. He's saying that Chauvin guy that choked out George was he was like a sleeper in Boston and Sandy Hook, and I know exactly what he's talking about. I've seen some reports on it, but I never like delved down that rabbit hole.
Well, I did dive down that rabbit hole because that's all I do. I'm a Cheshire cat. I go down rabbit holes. So,
well, I'm just
so I pulled this one off of I pulled this one off, and this was I think this was an anon somewhere. But it is true that Floyd and Chauvin worked together at El Nuevo Rodeo Club. They were saying that the club was used for the trafficking of women brought in from Mexico, and it was also laundering drug and counterfeit money. So Floyd had been stealing bills and flashing the money around, and basically there's a lot of these politicians that what they were saying is that a lot of these politicians were involved in the money laundering and receiving money from this particular business, and so being that Floyd had been stealing the bills and flashing them around, which would get the FBI involved, by the way. One of those counterfeit.
Oh, yeah.
That automatically gets the Fed involved. So they were saying that the higher ups, they said that the higher ups were directed to perform a hit on Floyd, and it ended up being filmed. And now, strangely enough, during the protest, that club was burnt to the ground. And what's really interesting is in interviews by the owner of the club, she actually came out and said that Floyd and Chauvin worked together at that club, and that Floyd didn't like Chauvin because apparently Chauvin was racist against against the different, like, I guess the African American patrons of that particular club. But strangely enough to me, she employed, so he was racist against her patrons, but she employed him for 17 years.
Okay,
Something
I
is-
gotta say something about that, Cheshire. Okay, so everything you just said, anybody with a logical mind will think, okay, that club was a Hispanic club, and anybody that knows Hispanics knows that they don't really care to associate with black people and vice versa. Usually they'll keep to themselves. Not saying they don't intermingle, but Hispanics, especially Hispanics from Mexico, are super racist. I mean,
Yes,
like
I
extremely
know.
racist.
Yeah.
They're extremely racist against dark-skinned Hispanics. So there is no way that this little Mexican club was allowing black people to hang out there, because they probably weren't playing anything but Spanish music because it was a Spanish club. She probably hired people like George. Go ahead.
For anyone here, if you ever hear Latinos say a pinche mayate, that's a really bad racial slur.
Yeah. So
I thought they were just telling me I had a big dick.
No,
so-
mayate is like a slang.
it's a
It's like
slur.
a black beetle. It's like a stink beetle or something
Yes,
like that down south.
it's a June bug.
It's
a
basically
June
a
bug.
racial slur. For
Oh,
It is a racial slur. There's several of them, but the thing is, Hispanics
Yeah.
from Mexico are extremely racist against Hispanics from the United States, as well as any Hispanic that is dark skinned. So
Now I don't know if that's just a rumor, but I heard the same thing about Africans from Africa. Are
yes,
super
yes.
racist against
Yes.
Africa,
yes,
Africans
They
from
hate-
America.
yes.
yes.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
it's 100% on point, Detroit. Black Africans from Africa do not like the darker ones, but they hate black Americans. They cannot stand black Americans because they say you're not African. You have no right to Africa. So they mistreat African blacks that moved back to Africa after because it was Liberia and another country were founded for freed slaves, and they were
Yeah.
treated horribly when they went back to Africa.
That's what I heard.
And nobody talks about that. Nobody talks
It's
about that
unreal.
Liberia was made. Yeah, it's insane. But you can't see Detroit. I'm glad you brought that up, see, because I'm going to be real. Hispanics are prejudiced against dark-skinned individuals, and blacks are prejudiced against dark-skinned individuals. And there's a lot of conflict that goes on in inner cities. So for them to say that there were blacks hanging out at that club, I don't buy it. I believe that club probably was a front for the narcotics, the cart. And so with that lady saying all that stuff, it's her opinion. We can't prove it. But the other thing about it burning down, it's kind of convenient because she supposedly sold that business recently, and then it burns down. So whoever bought it came up on insurance. So it's like, come on. It's like you said, Cheshire, it's optics. These people that are burning these cities down, they live there, but there are also people there burning down stuff, because what happens when you burn down a city? If you want to see what happens when you burn a city down during riots, look at LA. There are parts of LA right now that 30 years ago were predominantly black, and now they've been so gentrified you don't even recognize them, because people came in, bought everything up super cheap, and they pushed all of the blacks and Hispanics out of these predominantly minority communities. And like you said earlier, multi-generation families had lived there, and they were there because their family member bought a home. And like Detroit said, they had a grandfather or grandmother that did right and took care of the family. And that home was like a passed down, it was always a place where you could go back to. Everybody knows they have that grandma, the grandpa, where you know where home's at. And different people rotate through there. But when you get people and you manipulate them and you tell them that they're not good enough, and you give them a shitty school to educate them and give them no options, and you encourage them in certain behaviors, when they go off, people are like, well, that's just their frustration. No, that is generations of manipulation and indoctrination to destroy the black community. And people sit there and say, oh, well, look at it's all the black people out there. those are not a representation of the black community at all. I don't want to hear anybody say, "Oh, it's black people out there." No, those people are idiots. Every black person that I've ever met believes in family.
Mhm.
Go
Well, I
ahead,
was
Detroit.
Just, gonna say, just to add into that, they're not just doing it in black neighborhoods. I'm sorry to
Right.
say they're doing it in poor white neighborhoods. They're doing
Yep.
it in poor Latino
Hispanic
slums.
neighborhood. Yep.
Look what
Yep.
they
Right.
did to the Japanese in San Fran, or the Japanese in San Francisco. They
Yep.
moved those people out of there that had built a beautiful little slice of pie, and
Right.
you know those people worked 30 years to pay for those buildings and
Yep.
restaurants and
Wiped them out.
stuff like that,
Yep.
and then they ended up selling it for back taxes. You
Yeah.
know, how
Well,
is it?
see,
It's
that's
happening in my neighborhood. I live in downtown Detroit, in a very old part of it with
I love
mansions,
that gun, Doc.
stuff like that. And you know, there's people that have lived here since 1900 and own that house
right.
since the 1900s, and they lose the house for a $3,000 tax bill.
Yep.
Yeah,
And
that's
it's,
insane. That's
you
insane.
know, and then
I'll get.
a company comes
I'll
in
give
and
you.
buys
I'll give
up
you one. So check this out, Detroit. You're talking about people living in a specific area. Okay, where I'm at in the city that I live in, there was an area where it was a predominantly black neighborhood. How it came to be is like under question on how the individual that started it got a hold of the property, because at the time when he owned this large swath of property, blacks weren't allowed to own property. So it's kind of, people don't really know how he obtained it. But what he did was he set up a community. They had their own community store. They had churches. They had all these different things, and they kept together. They kept themselves in control, and they represented to me who the black community is, which is family. You know, you take care of your own. You keep your people in check. You don't go out causing problems. You know, you try to do right because that's how you want to be treated. So what the city did was they came in and they said, "Hey, we need to buy we're going to build a mall here." So they used eminent domain to confiscate all of these people's property with the plan of enriching the rest of the community. That was almost like 50 years ago, and they still to this day have not built on that property where they were supposed to build a mall and build stuff for the community. And still to this day, there's nobody there. The property sits vacant. And what it was is it was a way to break up that community under the guise of benefiting everybody. And that's wrong. That's wrong, period. And but that's gone on all across the country.
Well, a lot of
But
these groups
you
are
know
not
what
the
I-
first
I
groups
keep
that this has
saying,
ever been done to, though.
we keep blaming them for doing it to us. As long as you let them keep doing it to you, you're making yourself a victim. And the people that
Yep.
stand up in front of those microphones and say, "You should be mad at him because 212 years ago, maybe one of his ancestors knew somebody who owned one of your ancestors, and I mean, slavery's been going on for 4,000 years.
Right.
It's not something that was created fucking 218 years ago in America.
Right.
It still goes on to this day, and anybody that would try to use that at this point as a crutch, you know, you're doing yourself a disservice. Now, don't get me wrong. If they want to offer to send me a check, send me some of my tax money back. I don't care. But for anybody to demand that, I think that shows their ignorance and their desperation for a handout. I
Right.
mean, you'll never see me at the rally screaming, "Give me a reparations check," but you'll sure see me at the bank cashing one if they mail it. I mean that's just the sad truth of it. I mean, everybody I know has worked most of their lives and tried to get, unemployment or whatever, and had to jump through hoops, been denied, this, that, wait an extra 5 weeks, and now all your bills are behind, but we're going to give you a partial this, that. But on the other coin, I known people since high school that ain't never done nothing but get a check from the government. Ain't never done anything except fill out the paperwork and cry the story about my knee hurts and I can't go to work, and go see a doctor 3 times a week instead of just being like, you know what, that $335 they're sending me a month ain't worth all this bullshit I'm going through. And if I'm ever gonna have anything in life, it ain't gonna come from this $335 or something. Because it's not like they take that money and like try to build a business at their home or something, or
Hey, Alex.
invest it in something that's gonna give them a return. They're waiting for the next check. And as long as whoever is fooling people, white, black, Japanese, Chinese, whoever the fuck is fooling people into thinking this is a good system and this is the way to get ahead, they won, because they are absolutely manipulating and brainwashing the fuck out of over 1 million people. And I wouldn't be surprised if it was approaching 50 million people in this
Oh,
country.
God. Yeah. You're most likely. Yeah, that's probably a better bet. 50. What do you think, Alex, out there in the chat? How many of the Americans do you think they've got duped?
I wish it was none. All the information's available to each and every one of us, however you want to try to find that information.
Yeah, but nobody wants
It's
to listen, though. Then nobody wants to listen. I
I
mean,
don't even think it's that, unfortunately, Dangerous Freedom. I think nobody wants to believe.
yeah, the truth
Well,
is
it's kind of like what Yuri Bezmenov said, is that people will wake up when the boot is on the back of their neck and the gun is shooting them in the back of the head into pits.
yeah.
They will be squashed like cockroaches, he said. She sure did say.
Dangerous. What happened to your camera, man? I thought you were modeling for us, man. Putting on your
Yeah,
gear.
you were gonna do a catwalk dance with your armor on,
Yeah.
remember?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's dangerous.
You know what? I'll tell you what. When I get, dude, it is weird. They sent me the carriers, but they did not send me the plates. So basically, I would be walking around naked. So
No,
I'm gonna wait till I get the plates, and then I will do my dance and my little.
I've got the song ready and everything. Dangerous. Do you want to do
come
it?
on, let's do it. Do it. We talked about this other
All
night.
right. We went over this the other night. Do you remember? Like, you got to turn on the camera and let's do this. Come on.
No, we'll
Come
do
on.
it out there. We've only
Come
got
on.
8 minutes left anyway.
Come on. Come on.
You're
You can do it.
You're embarrassed.
Not
Yeah,
doing it.
put on that armor.
Come on, put the armor on and do it.
I got the
Do
song
the
ready and
catwalk.
everything. So go ahead and do
Come
it.
on, do the catwalk.
Well, you're gonna have to put that song on hold. Sorry, Chester.
Oh man, that's disappointing.
No, I wouldn't feel right. You know what? When I've got my armor fully rigged, and my extra magazines on the front of the vest, then I'll come out and do it. But right now, no, just not doing it.
That's
Guys,
disappointing.
I just got back, and I feel like I missed something terrible.
You did.
You know, Gundox, you'll get to see it here. I mean, honestly,
We'll fill you in. We'll fill you in the aftermath, in the after party.
Yeah.
What do you say?
actually, I'll tell you what. Everybody here in the chat, when we come on, hopefully by next Saturday, if I don't have my armor in, then I'm gonna be really livid. But I will still be here Saturday night, every single Saturday night. I mean, we do this. Me and Roger are rather religious, and we get quite a few other people that are religious. I don't know if religious is such a great word, but we all enjoy being here.
Right on.
Oh, New York. No, I don't think Doc is sick again. He's just he wants to show off some new tools that he got, and we can't really
Some new toys.
we can't really do that when we're live. Too sexy.
Yeah.
Oh, I think Eric got it.
It's always bad lighting.
Yeah. All right. So, anyways, about this Chaz thing, do you think the government's just going to let this thing try and burn itself out, or do you think they're going to go out and snuff it out?
You're gonna let it burn out on its own.
But
Yep.
but now, if it was a bunch of us out there doing the same thing, what do you think would happen?
No, they would just have the mainstream media in there, and then they would just continue to dehumanize us over and over again in the media. I don't think they'd really do anything about it.
Or until they Waco'd or Ruby Ridged us.
Man, dangerous. That's
Maybe.
exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Yep. Because
Me
if it was people that were patriotic, oh man, no, you guys can't be free. You better fucking listen to us. And
Yep.
and if they didn't listen, they'll just come and kill you and your kids. And they
Hey.
proved that at Waco. Those fucking assholes. God damn
I
it.
agree.
I'm
I
not
agree
gonna go
with
off
Robin
on that
G.
rant. I'm not
Right.
doing that rant during the stream. Everybody, we should all trust the government. They're a wonderful job for us. Just I don't want to lose my channel, and I don't want them to flashbang my house.
Hey, I think a lot of it. I think a lot of it too. I agree with what Robin G says, that they're not touching it because of the election year.
Yep.
They're trying to pander to their bases, man. Don't get me wrong. Trump, he knows his main base is people that are, God fearing, gun loving, American patriots. But the other side, there's a lot of people on the fence right now. If Trump rushed in there, he's trying to show that he's kind of tough. He's like, hey, I'm going to put this down if you don't. But at the same time, if he just runs in there, and man, I mean, what if they send a military style unit, the National Guard, whatever, in there, and 25 people get killed? I mean, dude, that's going to look bad right now. Timing.
I told you, this is a war of optics.
Yep, timing and optics. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Kent State kind of comes to mind on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, people forget about that one.
Yeah.
I do forget about some things, but I do remember a lot. I remember more than I forget. But then again, I'm an old man.
Well, if you want to see kind of like how Cheshire is saying, I think they're going to let it burn out or hope that it burns out. But what's going to end up happening is if it doesn't burn out, you're going to have the 70s all over, where you had these radical groups like Weather Underground, the Sybian Lebanese Army, or whatever it was. They're going to start popping out, and you're going to see more extreme activity from that other side. So hopefully it burns out, but
so what would be your thoughts on like most of us are saying, cut off the water and cut off the utilities?
Well, that tactically that would be the best strategy. I think Cheshire hit it more on the head, which is cut off supplies, because if you have no supplies, eventually you'll starve them out.
Yeah.
But if you cut off the gas, the electricity, and all that other stuff, those people within that 6-block radius that are not part of this, now you're punishing them because of some idiots. So it's like she said, optics. That's gonna look bad. What they're gonna do is they'll try to contain it to that 6 blocks and basically let them hopefully wear themselves out. And I'm hoping that's the case, but I mean,
basically just like putting a child in a playpen and just letting themselves out and fall asleep.
Give them soy until they fall asleep.
Yeah, we'll give them soy bottles and then let them go to sleep and think about what they did later.
Can I ask
Alex out here in hey, hold on. Alex out here in the chat says Hell's Angels and others are heading to Seattle right now. It is about to go down in a big way.
That is going to be interesting.
Yeah.
I'm not even popping. I am not even popping popcorn for this.
Yeah,
I'm going straight for the bags of pork rinds.
Yeah, dude. This ain't nothing. That is
That's gonna be that Rolling
You know,
Stones concert all over.
Alex, man. If you get info, you got my number. Shoot me text, dude. Let me keep me up to date, please. I'm interested to know how that goes down because I don't trust the media, but I trust Disabled Vets perspective. All right. That being said,
Let me get
Dangerous.
this stupid question in here because I can't come up with an answer on my own, and with all the brain power here, I'm sure
You're probably going to be wanting to You're probably going to be wanting to tie this up, Dangerous.
Well, I just wonder what is the goal of them creating this autonomous zone? What do they hope to achieve by it? What do they really think that they will be able to influence by doing what they've done? I mean, is it simply to have other monkeys do what monkeys do, or is there like a plan?
I think what they're working on, what this is going to do, whether anybody agrees with me or not, is this is going to embolden other cells that are implanted all over the U.S. to try to do the same thing. So there's already talks about up in Portland, Oregon, about Antifa groups trying to pull the same thing that they pulled in Seattle and take over whole city blocks worth of land.
Yep.
And claim it for Antifa. So this is, and so they're going to basically try to destabilize things that way. This is just going to be one of the first of the dominoes. But, again, I don't know tactically if this is going to work out for them, being that they all seem to be in these really large cities. That would be really easy to strangle them off from supplies.
Yeah, I call them collectives. They're like a hive. When you get in those cities, they're like a hive. That's why I'm glad I don't live in one. I mean, granted, I do have neighbors around me, but we're still spread out. I mean, we're not stacked on top of each other, and a lot of us are. I live in a very conservative area of my county. I mean, so like most of us own guns. We fly our flags. I'll tell you what, if I find out somebody burned my flag, well, somebody's getting a beat down. I'll tell you what, man. That's on.
Not me. I'm just gonna go buy a new flag, man. Fuck that asshole.
No, you know what? My neighbor has 360 security cameras, and so she'll be able to get night vision, scope on it.
You want me to tell you one thing I learned living here in Detroit, Ron? It doesn't matter how good the cameras are or how many angles you got them on.
No, that's all right.
Yep.
Because the thing is, if that guy's walking by my house again and I freaking punch him in the face, she'll delete that video.
Yeah, I just really don't. I don't see a plan in all of this.
Hey, hold on, Alex. Let me put you on speaker here. Hold on. Let's see. Okay, Alex, are you there? Okay.
You got me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Do it now? Okay, cool. Yeah, I put a list in your chat, but I forgot one. It's the Hells Angels are riding with the Mongols. They are joined up at the point. The Outlaws have joined them. The Oath Keepers and the Bikers for Trump, and they're motorcycling in from several directions, huge convoys, and they are converging on Seattle. So I grew up with the Hells Angels.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, if they are going somewhere, they're not going to have a picnic.
Yeah. I know my share of bikers. So yeah.
Does he know when they plan to arrive? Their ETA?
Well, from what I understand, they're not going to go there and let it go at one time. So the people that are coming from different directions obviously have a meet-up point. And then when they all get there, they're going to convert it on Seattle. I'm expecting it within the next day or two.
Yeah, it doesn't take more than 2 or 3 days to get anywhere in America.
Well, that is
There's nothing
definitely-
like a good road trip.
That's going to be an interesting thing to see, and I bet you that will make headline news. You know what I mean? Oh man, holy shit!
They're going to be on the news when they make it.
In there together.
I'm sorry. What was that, Alex?
Ain't gonna be
It's going
good.
to be hard for the news to avoid something like that.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
This is my guess. I'm guessing that when they get there, the first thing they'll do is a direct challenge to the armed people outside the barricades. They'll probably walk up at the barricades and start moving them out of the way and then dare them to do something about it. I imagine that's how they'll start. And then if they want to escalate it from the other side, they'll have that opportunity. But I'm going to guess that they're probably not going to want to challenge that many hardened bikers in that situation.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you on that 100%. I think that will be the complete
There's Conway.
action they do is go move those barricades, tell those dipshits to go fuck off, and those dipshits will probably go fuck off.
Yeah. Some of them will, but I bet
Yeah,
some of them won't.
I think 99.999% and that one little asshole hiding behind the bush ain't gonna be a problem.
Yeah,
Hey,
but
check it out.
all right, hold on.
I'm sorry, my neighbor, he's a truck driver, and he just told me that through the area that he drives a truck, it is the actual direct route to, or well, you can go up towards Seattle that way. Towards, he said that he's seen a bunch of mongrels coming through. He said there were multiple mongrel.
30 of
Yep.
them.
He said about 30 of them headed in that direction.
The Mongols, some of them are probably the most aggressive, and all I can say is I hope Hells Angels can keep the Mongols in check a little bit, because they are one of the most violent, probably the most violent motorcycle gang that's ever existed. So, I mean, the Hells Angels, they're good people, but they don't make any check at all. And when they go out on a mission like this, they are going out there to get it, not to go negotiate.
Yeah, no, they're not.
It's just going to be interesting.
Yeah, it's dude. And you said they're going to be descending in the next day and a half to 2 days.
Yeah, as soon as they get it in place, that's when they're going to go at it.
Dude, holy crap. Even our military is probably going to step back and watch it and be like, wow, those guys are good. You know?
I swear, if
Isn't
I'm
that
allowed,
great, Alex? I know that son of a bitch, man. You know what I mean?
dude, no one is
Going
going
in there all
to stand up
tactical
for
and
you.
shit.
If I could still ride my bike, I'd give the rest I'd be with them. But I can't. I don't have my leg strength is shot. I can't hold up my damn leg anymore. So
That's all right.
Actually, I've traded this thing off on my cheek. So we'll see.
Get a trike. Get a
Yeah,
trike
I'll
like
tell you
my
what,
dad.
for sure.
Alex, you've already got enough knowledge that you're already valuable, even without your legs. I mean, just on your podcast, dude. I mean, you drop some knowledge, and I that's why I'm always I make as many as I can. I can't. I'll be honest, dude. It's hard to catch every single podcast. It's like damn near impossible. But I catch as many as I can. But yeah, you're always dropping knowledge, man. Always.
Hey, I'd like to just jump in here real quick and say goodbye to everybody.
150 yards.
All right.
I can always,
Hey, Alec. Hold
Yeah,
on.
don't
It's okay.
Roger.
Hold on,
Let
brother.
him go.
Detroit.
Yeah,
Let him
don't
go.
go on 60.
Thank you very much, brother. Thank you for hanging out, and we
Thanks for
will see
having
you next Saturday. And I will probably talk to you tomorrow. So, all right,
Hey,
All right.
Alex.
That back a special hug for me, please.
I know.
Hey, Dangerous.
Give my
I will do it.
Frank a big old
Beautiful.
rug, but he's
Good night,
probably wrapped
everybody
down.
in the chat
He's
too.
probably wrapped down in his family right now.
Take care, Detroit.
Thank you. You
Good
have a
night.
good night. Everybody
Oh,
stay safe.
okay, California Critic. You know what? Everybody's popping out. Alex, you know what? You want to pop on? I'll shoot you a link. I'll send it to your email. All right, Alex.
you just drop in the chat.
I'm not doing. I'm no. We're going off of public. We're doing a private thing, but I'm inviting you, and I'd like you to come on.
All right, well,
Okay.
I
All right.
a little bit, so just shoot it wherever.
Okay. It'll be at your 7 sales.
Okay.
All right, brother. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, man.
Okay. All right. That was just getting a little weird trying to do the phone and
Yeah.
I could barely
I'm not-
understand him.
dude, I'm already drinking and I now I'm trying to multitask. I'm not a digital wizard. California Critic. Hey Rod, you want to pop on here and give everybody a send off, say, hey man, thank you for hanging out. If you
Yeah, I'm still here, Dangerous. Thank you to Patriot 3%er. Sorry about butchering your name, brother.
No, no, no,
Chess-
no. It's all good, brother. Much love.
Cheshire. I appreciate you guys. Gun Docs, thanks for flashing us the 2A way. God bless you guys. I appreciate it, man, and I look forward to next Saturday night to see what you crazy kids bring. And to everybody in the chat, God bless you guys. I enjoy seeing you guys, and I can't wait for the next one.
Hey
So
Cal,
you guys. Yeah, what's up, brother?
you can always stay backstage.
Oh, right on. Yeah, go for it. Go ahead and drop me out.
Always keep your head on a 360, people. Always.
Yep.
All right, Gun Docs, you want to sign off, brother?
He may have fell asleep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Poor gun dog.
Cheshire, it's your turn, hon.
For what?
Oh, just we're signing off.
Oh, we are. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
It was. Oh, I had okay. Yeah, I'm like totally lost. I'm like, what the hell's going on here? No. I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. So and
Absolutely.
seeing me in my clueless state. But I'll definitely, hopefully, be on next Saturday, and we'll continue the fun.
Yeah. And you know what? I just want to say how much I appreciate all of you that come out here and do this. I mean,
Yes.
everybody has a wrench here because I give everybody that trust. And a lot of these people in here, some I've known for a few months, some I've known for a few years. And some of you, I feel like I've known my entire life. And those of you out there, you know exactly who I'm talking about. But anyways, we're about a
I
quarter.
love reading the comments.
We're about
I'm
a
sorry.
quarter. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I was just saying, I love reading the comments, man. You got
I
some
know.
good people coming on these comments, dude, and that's coming in to join. Great people, man. Love it.
Family. This is family.
It's always fun.
Yes.
Okay, y'all. And on that note, y'all take care. I've got to watch my usage here. So good night, and we will see you on the streams.